Welcome to We Want Picks. We are going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 42 Holloway versus Rodriguez fight card. We're going to give you our bets. We're going to give you our DraftKings insight, and we are going to give you our monkey knife fight plays. Before we jump in, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 3 different betting partners. Click on one of the links, make a deposit, let me know when you're done, and I'll send you $50. I have a queue of people that I owe $50 to. I will get to you, I promise. Jump in, click the link, make a deposit, $50 or more, let me know, and I'll send you $50 in return. We've paid a ton of people. I've got a ton of people lined up to get paid, and then whoever's watching, I'll pay you too. Jakey boy, you and I watched the fights together. Let's talk about UFC 268 for like 2 minutes before we move on to UFC Vegas 42. I want to ask you about the Weili Namajunas decision. So people are very mad at me because I think Weili won that decision. I thought it was 3 rounds to 2. I thought Weili won the first 3, lost the second 2. It was pretty clear. You were on the other side of that, though.
Yeah, that was. I thought the first round was for Rose. Listen, I was joking the entire time that at the end of the fight that it was 4-1 Rose, and how a judge saw it 4-1 Rose is just the most asinine thing I've ever seen. Because I think it was clear. Was it 2 and 3 were Weili, definitely 4 and 5 were Rose. But that first round, could go either way is in my mind. So I thought Rose won the first, but to give Rose either the second or the third, I had no idea what the hell happens there. So yeah, I thought Rose won the fight. I didn't. Obviously, it was close. It wasn't convincing. Either way, it could have went. I thought it was going to be the right decision, but I thought personally that Rose won the fight. So,
yeah, and Mbaye had a few good comments on the post that I made saying that Luke Thomas, I guess, rewatched the fight, originally scored it for Rose, rewatched the fight, and then flipped it and said, yeah, Weili won the first 3 rounds. Listen, it was a very close fight. But you score rounds. I thought 1, 2, and 3. I thought it was pretty straightforward. What is driving me nuts are the people that are insisting Rose dominated, Rose won. It's clear as day. You're crazy. It's like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. This is a debatable decision. To say Weili dominated or Rose dominated and anybody who thinks differently is wrong, well, you're an idiot. The last thing I'll mention, Rose won me money. So everybody's like, oh, you're just upset you lost your bet. No, I didn't. I won my bet. I did the daily booster that parlayed Usman and Rose, hit it. So I actually won my bet. If Weili won, I would have lost the bet, but tricky times. What do you think of, so now they're talking about Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. I guess they talked about it. What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, the first person to mention that was in your living room immediately after the Chandler fight. When he lost and we started to think about matchups, me, Casey, and Bo were all talking. I said, you know what? Michael Chandler should fight Conor McGregor. First of all, Conor can't come in and fight for a title. He needs at least one fight. Chandler, if he beats Chandler, could get that title. And if you watch that fight, first of all, Chandler proved that he is willing to just bang, right? I thought he was going to come in and wrestle. Obviously, there was a few shots in there when he was like absolutely out of his mind, hurt. He just that was just muscle memory to take a shot. But he went there, stood, and banged like he said he would. So if he does that versus Conor, that has the opportunity to be another fight like Gaethje. And if you're Conor, you have to be salivating because Michael Chandler was getting destroyed in that fight. Every single thing that Gaethje threw, he was getting hit with. And obviously he withstood it somehow. There was he was having conversations with himself in the ring. I don't know what the hell was going on, but if you're Conor, you got to be thinking, listen, I can put this guy away. Dustin Poirier has fought Gaethje and Conor and said the hardest person or the hardest puncher he's ever fought is Conor. So he admitted that Conor punched harder than Gaethje. Chandler's already chinny. You saw how much he got hit. If I'm Conor, I'm like, hell yes, let me fight Michael Chandler, knock him out, and I'm straight into a title shot. So I agree 100%.
It would definitely be a fun fight. Let's catch up on some chat very quickly, and then we are going to break down this entire card. Jesse, where are you, bud? Jesse mentioned a trilogy fight. I don't think so. I think while I disagree with the decision, I don't think we're ready for a trilogy fight. I think, let's move on. Let Weili get a win and Rose fight somebody else. Rose should fight Carla Esparza, and she will lose that fight for sure. Let's see. Hustle Hog, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I did Mbaye. I said this to Jacob when it happened. That is exactly what happened when Michael Chandler picked up Gagey and slammed him to the ground. He hit his own head. That created a scramble that he ended up on the wrong side of. So that was really interesting. And then Aaron is saying Marina first Rose. That would be an interesting fight as well. So let's break down UFC Vegas 42. We're coming off 2 sick numbered cards, sort of sliding into a pretty regular fight night. But let's see what happens. First up at UFC Vegas 42, we have Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Da Un Jung. Da Un Jung, 14-2 overall, 4-0-1 in his last 5, with that one being a split draw to Sam Alvey. Kennedy Nzechukwu, 9-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, riding a 3-fight win streak. Da Un Jung is a technical boxer with solid wrestling. He's got good clinch work. He's coming off a dominant win over William Knight where he had 8 takedowns and plenty of control. That's the fight that he went in there and just kept taking William Knight down with the same takedown over and over. And honestly, it was a little shocking because William Knight was a decent high school wrestler. And obviously this isn't high school, but Da Un Jung had no wrestling whatsoever, developed it in the last few years, and was able to implement that game plan, knowing full well the power that William Knight possesses. Kennedy Nzechukwu is super long. He has a ton of power, and he has a solid takedown defense at 80%, and he is never out of a fight. If you go back, you watch that Carlos Ulberg fight, Kennedy was on the wrong side of most of those exchanges. He was on his way to losing a decision before he absolutely blasted Carlos for a come-from-behind win, and that is not unique to his career. It's a tricky matchup, right? Kennedy's got a ton of power, good takedown defense. We've seen Kennedy beat grapplers before too. Jung has good wrestling, technical striking, and we've seen him beat power punches before. My issue with Kennedy is he has no problem getting behind on rounds. No problem. And you cannot build a career on losing rounds and hoping for sort of a one-punch knockout, come-from-behind victory. And you can't bet on a guy that fights like that either. Especially against Jung, who has no problem taking you down, be boring, holding you there, and just riding out a decision. So I do have Da Un Jung winning this fight. He's the pick. The odds makers, I agree with these odds. I think they're pretty solid because Kennedy will always be live for a knockout. But Kennedy is tough, and I don't have a bet on this fight. But if I did, and I may touch this at some point, Kennedy to win inside the distance or decision no action may be a solid play because he can knock Jung out or just lose a wrestle decision the same way that William Knight did. And if he loses the decision, I get a refund. If he gets that come from behind knockout, I'd get paid. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I agree with the inside the distance, but I also think that Kenny's going to win this fight. Maybe inside the distance, maybe not. And you mentioned it. He's one of those guys that isn't really winning a fight until he's winning the fight, right? Which doesn't really make sense, but it always seems like he's out of the fight, getting dominated, and all of a sudden he just ends up winning the fight. That Ulberg fight, you mentioned, Ulberg just kind of gassed out and he just jumped all over him with all that volume and just never stopped punching, like somebody mentioned in the live chat, and got that win. So I kind of feel like the UFC has something against Kennedy because first they put him against Paul Craig, a wrestler who, by the way, was 1-on-16 takedowns versus Kennedy. Then and he ended up losing that fight. He ended up getting taken down and submitted, but he was very tough against Paul Craig, and we know how good Paul Craig is. Then they put him against a jiu-jitsu guy who was 2 of 12 for takedowns and couldn't finish him. And then put him against a kickboxer who he got through. So I feel like they have something against this guy for some reason, but I just think that this comes down to can Jung get the takedowns, and I don't think he can. I think he proved against wrestlers before that he can withstand those takedowns. He's going to come with the volume, and it is kind of funny with Jung how he was a split decision. What was it with the win versus Sam Alvey or the loss versus Sam Alvey, and then it's like the complete opposite person of Sam Alvey.
It was a split draw.
Is William Knight. And he just completely dominates him physically. The most physical person I've ever seen in my life, he just dominates him physically. So I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Kennedy. I don't think he's going to be able to get the takedowns, and Kennedy's just going to swarm him with that volume. So I kind of like the underdog play here. I'm not real confident in it, but I like Kennedy to win this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said, Kennedy's great. He's got power. He's never out of a fight, which is fantastic, especially in a fight where he would probably be behind for a round or two. But my issue is that you just can't bet on a guy that has no problem falling behind a round or two. That makes that you lose some confidence there. But so DraftKings, I guess, do you like him at $7,900? Yeah, that's a decent value if you think he's going to win.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be inside the distance. Like you said, there's always that opportunity that he does get taken down and controlled by Jung, because we saw that against William Knight. So I wouldn't play him at 7,900.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. It's risky because Kennedy is always lying.
Just so you know, those odds are -115 for Jung, and Kennedy's -105 now. So they're moving.
So I did these graphics yesterday. So that's how much it moved in one day. I do think Da Un Jung at $8,300 might be a solid play, because the amount of takedowns, if you go back to that William Knight fight, he had a ton of takedowns, a ton of control, and scored 1,000,000 points.
Paul Craig, 1 for 16.
What'd you say?
Paul Craig, 1 for 16.
Okay, what?
Paul Craig was 1 for 16 takedowns versus Kennedy. He's not going to be able to take him down.
Well, he's got good takedown defense, but we'll see. That's what makes these fights just so amazing.
We'll see.
What do you think of this monkey knife fight line? Frankly, if Da Un Jung gets the takedowns, 73.5, no problem, blow right past it. If he doesn't, I don't know how many he's going to be able to absorb and put out, but you raise the roof there. You're saying more and more?
Easy, more.
Yeah, I think it's probably more and more. They'll go at it. It should likely be a decision unless Kennedy gets a stoppage, because Da Un's not going to pull off a stoppage. The only question is, does he get those takedowns? Because if he does not get the takedowns, do you still think he gets past 73?
Yeah, I think it's just, Kennedy's not going to knock you out with one punch power. He's just going to swarm you. So he's a decent striker as well. We didn't even realize he was a grappler until the William Knight fight. So I think it's just a long decision. One more.
Yeah. It should be an interesting fight. Honestly, it can either be really fun or super boring. So it's a interesting one to open the card. And just a reminder, this is a very early fight card. This is not the normal 9 p.m., whatever it is, main card start time. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have Marc Diakiese versus Rafael Alves. Marc is 14-4 overall, 2-3 in his last 5. Coming off of a decision loss to phenomenal kickboxer Rafael Fiziev a year ago. And Rafael Alves is 4-1 in his last 5, 19-10 overall. And he did have a nice little win streak before the UFC absolutely punished him with his last matchup. Marc Diakiese. Marc is a very good kickboxer. He's coming back after a year layoff. He has a ton of power, and he sets everything up with leg kicks and body shots. He's the type of guy who invests early for a payoff in later rounds. He's very durable, but he does have holes on the ground. And in this matchup that could cost him the fight, luckily for him, Rafael Alves has yet to take anybody down in his UFC career. Rafael Alves is the proud owner of the biggest weight miss of all time in the UFC. That dude missed weight. What was it? 16 pounds or something freaking absurd.
Yeah, he was supposed to be 145, and he missed 145 and 155. I think he was 157 pounds or something.
It was something absurd, and it is literally the biggest weight miss in the history of the UFC, so good for him. This is his second fight at 155. He's now bumped up after that weight miss. And moving up is, he finally has a favorable matchup. His last matchup at 155 against Ismagulov, right, was just straight up punishment. That was just the UFC saying, you don't do that to us. They punished him, and now he has himself at least what can be a winnable fight. Alves is very flashy with solid speed and power. He is a finisher, but if he doesn't finish, he can get into some trouble because his cardio is not amazing. He can finish you both standing or on the ground, but again, we have yet to see him get a single takedown in the UFC. Again, he had cardio issues at 45. I expect him to be a little more buttoned up at 155, but we'll see what happens. Interesting matchup. Alves is far more dangerous. If you make a mistake striking, he will knock you out. If you make a mistake on the ground, he will submit you. But if you can keep it technical, push the pace, you should be able to tire him out, take the win. I'm going with Marc here after the year-long layoff. I think the leg kicks will help sort of remove some of that Alves power. I think the body shots will speed up Alves' eventual gassing. It's a dangerous fight, but if he stays composed, Marc should have a straightforward win. You're making stupid faces. What do you think?
Yeah, Marc's going to absolutely dominate this fight. You mentioned the Ismagulov fight that they gave Rafael. I feel like this is I feel like they just want him to just end his contract on losses. I think this is another one. Like, here you go, dumbass, way to go. And Marc's going to absolutely dominate this fight. You mentioned holes in his wrestling game. I don't see that. He actually trains with Khamzat. If that is any indication of how his wrestling is, so he trains with Khamzat.
Not holes in his wrestling, holes on the ground. If you get him down, he's a little bit of a fish out of water.
I disagree because I have in my notes he knows how to get to his feet. It's not a guy that's just going to pull guard. Where Rafael will just pull guard, right? He'll jump. He's going to try and jump on somebody's neck, and he's willing to just pull guard. And he saw it in his last fight. He'll just lay on his back and get completely dominated. I think that Marc can come in and use his offensive wrestling if he needs to control this fight. But I think he's going to absolutely dominate him on the feet. He's got to withstand that early barrage, right? Because we'll see Rafael. We saw the Ismagulov fight. He'll just blitz across with some wild stuff. So Marc's got to be tough. Got to be smart early. And you look at his losses, he's 14-4. His losses are Jakar Close, a split decision loss. He got choked out by Dan Hooker, lost a decision to Hapgrass, and lost the decision to Fiziev. So those are not slouches at all. I think this guy is the real deal. They want him to get a nice, solid win under his belt, so they give him the fat-ass Rafael, and he's going to dominate this fight. So I like him a lot, and I'll probably put him in my DraftKings lineup.
So, it's funny to say that he didn't look that bad against Ismagulov, and then also he's going to get smoked.
I didn't say he didn't look bad. I think he looked awful against Ismagulov.
I'm sorry. The comment section said he actually looked good against Ismagulov. I pinned some comments. He didn't tire out in that fight. And that actually is a factor. 155, he may not be as suck dry as at 145 as he was. What do you think of so you like Marc in your DraftKings lineup. You think there's a stoppage. He's under $9,000. Great. What do you think of the Monkey Knife fight line?
I probably play more because Rafael, he is tough. I think he's probably going to gas. I think Marc's the real deal though, and watch out for Marc. Will do some flying knees too. And if Rafael's taking sloppy shots, we've seen like for some reason flying knees are like the new thing, right? Everyone's doing flying knees. Everyone's getting knocked out. It seems like every single week by flying knees. So this is if I'm gonna try and find a flying knee prop, and I'm hitting it.
It's interesting, like you say, if he takes a sloppy shot. As dangerous as he is on the ground, he doesn't have a single takedown in the UFC, right. Not one.
Right.
Which is interesting. And not that he's not capable. He just hasn't. He's perfectly fine at striking and moving forward. I do like the more and more Monkey Knife fight. I think unless there's an early flash knockout, both these guys are tough. Both these guys are going to fight. More and more should be fine. And this probably, I think it should go to a decision, but there could be a stoppage on the Diakiese side. I wish I was pronouncing that correctly. Either way, this should be a fun one. Grab some props. wewantpicks.com/bets. Jump into a promo, and I'll pay you $50. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have Cortney Casey versus Liana Jojua.
Woo!
Cortney Casey, 9-9 overall. 2-3 in her last 5, coming off of 2 losses. Liana Jojua, 8-4 overall, 3-2 in her last 5, coming off of a stoppage loss to Miranda Maverick a year ago. Cortney Casey, good striker with solid grappling. She has solid power in her hands, and uses range well. She is on the wrong side of a win streak, but she's competitive in almost all of her fights. And is incredibly tough. She can win a technical striking fight and pose threats on the ground if she's on top. Jojua, good striker. She stomps her way forward. And I say stomps because she is very heavy on her feet. She does not have the best movement. She can be dangerous on the ground, though, if you give her the opportunity. Just watch the Belbita fight. Her issue, as you've heard me rant about with other fighters, and I almost just ranted about it with Rafael Alves, is she's good on the ground. That's her path to victory in most of her fights, but she does not have very good takedowns. And I will just never understand that. You need to get it to the ground to win this fight, and you're just not very good at getting it to the ground. Listen, Courtney's a good size favorite here, 2-1. I do think that's a little wide. I think it should be a little closer, but I understand how they got to 2-1. Cortney has the higher level of competition. She has the more technical striking, more power. The most concerning statistic here, though, is that Jojua has a negative 2-1 striking differential, meaning she is hit 2 times for every 1 shot she lands on her opponent. With that being said, there's a clear path to victory here for Jojua. She can march forward with power, just throw that big, heavy power, get some takedowns, and win from there. I think this is much closer than these odds. I'm going with the experience here. I am going to pick Casey, but frankly, this is a pick'em. This fight's a pick'em. Go ahead, get creepy. Talk about the picture. Give us your pick.
No, I mean, this is obviously lock of the week, and I just want to send, if you don't mind, send a message to Liana. If you give me just a quick minute here. Liana, listen, if you're watching this, my name's Jacob, and I just want to make sure that you know that you are the official backup for me. Right now, it's Amanda Rebus, but we don't know what's going on. I haven't talked to her in a week or so. So if she doesn't step up the plate, Liana, I followed you on Instagram. When you're seeing this, follow me back. Send me a message. You're on deck. Get ready. So she's the lock of the week. Let's get that out of the way. I honestly think that these are mirror images of each other, right? I think both in their striking, they're both a little stiff. I think Liana's got the power, but they're both a little stiff in their striking. You mentioned Casey's grappling. I actually like Liana's grappling. She's a little greener when it comes. She's only a purple belt in the jiu-jitsu, but I think that's where she's really most comfortable. She can be a power striker, but I think she's comfortable there. I think that Liana comes in and uses her offensive wrestling and takes Cortney down. If you look at her last few fights, she was taken down versus JJ, taken down versus Juliana, taken down versus Barella, taken down versus Karate Hottie. What's up, Karate Hottie? Taken down versus Angela Hill. She was taken down by all of these people. Liana, I think you just take her down and control her. Like, obviously, if she's in her full guard, she can do some weird stuff. Especially girls are pretty flexible. They can throw out arm bars, triangles, everything like that. But I think Liana comes out and grapples her and wins this fight. So that's my lock of the week. So
you're right about the path to victory. The problem is Liana does not have very good takedowns. She's good on the ground, but she does not have very good takedowns, hence my little baby rant. But that is the path, because Courtney Casey, if she's on top, she's very dangerous. If she's on bottom, she's not very dangerous. She doesn't pose much of a threat. She almost hangs out, lets you ride out, lets you take the round. So that's why I said I think this is much closer to a pick'em, but I'm going to lean experience here. I mean, she is a 500 fighter, but there's some decent names in that list, and she's been in some actual wars. She's tough. She's well-rounded, and definitely the better striker. So obviously you like Liana here. So you like the $7,400.
Georgia tough. It's her and Delidze on this card. Georgia tough. Gigi's from Georgia. They're tough as shit, man.
I don't like either one of them for DraftKings personally. This monkey knife line is interesting. 113 strikes for Courtney Casey. That just seems like so much. What do you think?
Yeah, less. Might even go less, because even Liana is not a volume. She's a count. She wants to counter, right? And she wants to throw some big power shots off the counter. So I don't know. This could get sloppy though, because neither one of them have really good striking defense. So it could just be like jab. Everyone's getting in the face every single time because nobody really has good head movement. So I definitely like the less, but that 56 is a little tricky. I don't like that.
Yeah, 56 is a hard line. 113, I definitely like the less. So this is the type of thing where you go to Monkey Knife Fights. So you go to wewantpicks.com/MKF.
And just real quick, everyone that is slandering Liana right now, I'm gonna go back, get every single one of your names, and you guys are gone. You're done. Okay? Knock it off.
Anyway, wewantpicks.com/MKF. Sign up, make a deposit. They will instantly match that deposit. The Courtney Casey line, go into the slates. Find her in the slates and pick the less. Because this matchup, this line's a little tricky, but 113, I like the less. Find her in a slate, hit the less. wewantpicks.com/MKF. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have Sean Woodson versus Collin Anglin. Sean Woodson, 8-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. Collin Anglin, 8-2 overall, also 4-1 in his last 5. Sean Woodson has great boxing. He was a legit boxer before moving to MMA. He's very long. He knows how to play that long game well. And I don't normally care about reach. I always bust people's chops that just pull up Tapology, read what's on the screen, and make their picks from 8 inches reach. They win. But that actually, in this fight, that actually is a factor because Sean manages range really, really well. He's a very good boxer, and he has an 8-inch reach advantage. So that actually matters quite a bit in this fight, and that will work for him. If Collin manages to work his way inside of that pocket, get past that reach, gets nice and close, he will have a hard time taking Woodson down because Woodson has an 81% takedown defense, which is rock solid. Collin Anglin is an explosive striker who has a wide stance, and he's pretty smooth on his feet. He uses body shots well. He will grapple when there are opportunities. And the grappling is interesting because if Anglin is able to get it to the ground, he's very dangerous on top. He has heavy ground and pound. But if you look at the stats, you'll see he has an 80% takedown accuracy, and he will definitely need that in this fight. So very interesting path to victory for Anglin. We essentially have a striker versus a grappler here, even though Anglin's a little bit more than just a grappler. Sean's legit boxing in range will probably be a problem for Collin to close the distance. And as I mentioned before, even if he closes the distance, Woodson has great takedown defense. I like Woodson here. It's probably a decision. But this is another fight where I think the odds are, I think it's much closer than these odds. What do you think there, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I agree. It's probably a little bit closer than the odds. I'm glad you mentioned the length too, because I 100% agree. Usually length is no big deal, but in this situation, the guy's like 6'3", 145 pounds. Listen, I've been there. Before I put on this muscle, before you see these shoulders that I put on, this packed on this muscle, I was also 6'3", 145 pounds a few years ago. So I know what that like. I know what that body frame is like. But Sean Woodson, there's a few things I want to touch on that are a little bit unfight related. First of all, Sean Woodson, his last fight, said that he definitely had ring rust, right? So it's good that he knocked it off. He acknowledged he's a very down-to-earth guy. He also mentioned before, he said, I dread the day that I fight as a favorite. He said, I love the underdog role. And literally his quote is, I dread the day. I know I'm undefeated. When he said he was undefeated, he said, I'm undefeated. There's going to be a time when I'm the favorite. I don't want that kind of pressure. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles being the favorite in this fight, especially a 3-1 favorite in this fight. A point to add for Collin is, for some reason, like 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, he took up a part-time job installing windows. So I don't know if he's like in this like full, like really into fight camps. He said they work well with his hours to be able to train and stuff, but that seems a little weird to me. You're like 4 weeks out from a fight camp and also or from a fight and you're just taking up a part-time job. So, good for him for doing it, but it just seems a little weird to me. I like Sean Woodson in this fight. I agree that Collin's going to have to wrestle, but I just don't think he's going to be able to get in the range. Sean, some people are long, but don't fight long. Sean is very long and fights long. He pumps that jab out. He'll pump those kicks out. And as long as Collin can't catch those kicks, he's going to have a hard time getting inside of Sean Woodson. And that's why the odds are the way they are. So I like Sean Woodson in this fight, but it could get a little messy for him.
Yeah, I completely agree. It does get, when the path is grappling and you're a capable grappler, that does complicate things because, he may only need to get it to the ground one time, just one time. And Sean Woodson, very good, clean boxer, but he's not exactly Mr. Wild Knockout, right? He's not exactly tons of crazy power. He'll pick you apart, he'll beat you up. And that's why his strike line is what it is, right? If he had a ton of power, his strike line would be much lower. That's his strike line because, almost like a Max Holloway where he's very good, very clean, tons of strikes. Eventually he could put you out, but one punch isn't going to do it. So we're both on Sean Woodson here. $9,200, a lot of money to spend considering he's a striker. And I don't think there's a stoppage. So $9,200, you're not going to get the five-point takedowns. You're not going to get a stoppage most likely. I'm not spending that. There may be value at $7,000 for Collin Anglin. 5 points per takedown. He has a very clear path to victory with the grappling. That may be worth throwing in your lineup, depending what your lineup looks like. What do you think of this monkey knife fight line? I think it's less more. And I totally get why Sean Woodson is at 114. He is a high-volume striker. His boxing is very good. And that range control, he can keep you away. The reason I like the less on him, though, is I do think Collin will try to grapple. So I think they'll try to be some cage control, try to hold him against something, try to tie him up a little bit, which may keep that 114 a little lower, and he'll get up over the 50 because I do think it's a goes to a decision. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this could turn into a slugfest because Sean Woodson throws volume, and Collin Anglin's gonna be there in the third round, right? He's tough as shit. You saw him against Melsick in that last fight. He ended up getting a head kick knocked out with a head kick, but he was going toe to toe with Melsick, taking shots. So he's tough. He's gonna be in the third round. But still, even with that volume, with the grappling, maybe Sean defending takedowns. I definitely play the less. I think the less more split is probably the safe play.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting fight because I think the UFC wants Sean Woodson to really put something together and make something happen, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. Go to wewantpicks.com/bets, jump into one of our 3 betting partners, make a deposit, let me know after you do, and I will send you $50 as a thank you for supporting us and our partners. wewantpicks.com/bets. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have Miguel Baeza versus Khaos Williams. Miguel Baeza, 10-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. Khaos Williams, 12-2 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. Miguel Baeza is a very good technical striker with solid Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He looks better in every fight, and he has a very solid fight IQ. He does a really good job using his kicks to take away his opponent's legs and wear down their cardio. He's tough, but there are questions about his chin, and Khaos isn't exactly the person you want to have test your chin. Khaos Williams is also fun to watch. He walks people down. He has a ton of power. He has solid low kicks himself, and just like Baeza, he uses those kicks well to take out his opponent's legs, slow them down so he can come up top for a knockout later in the round or later in the fight. He has legit power. He is very durable, and he is always live for a knockout. Honestly, this is a super fun fight. I think the odds should be flipped. I think Khaos should be a slight favorite. Baeza is likely the more technical striker, but we've seen his chin have issues. Khaos definitely has the power and speed advantage, but I actually think this fight might come down to Khaos's takedown defense. We have not seen him defend or execute a single takedown in the UFC. Nobody tried to take him down, so we haven't seen him defend it, and he hasn't tried to take anybody down, so we haven't seen him, on that side of wrestling either. We've seen no wrestling from him whatsoever in the UFC, because if he touches Baeza early, Baeza may look to grapple, and how Khaos responds to that grappling may be the differentiator in this fight. I am very slightly leaning towards Khaos because of the knockout potential, but I am worried about that pick because I think Baeza may look to grapple, and if he does, there's a ton of unknowns. We literally have no idea how Khaos would respond to that and what he would do. Jakey boy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, explain this Baeza chin thing. He's never been knocked out, and
Did you watch the fight?
He's never been knocked down.
So Justin Gaethje hasn't been knocked out either, but we've seen him very rocked.
Well, it sounds like his chin held. I mean, it sounds like his chin's holding up to me. Holy shit! The guy's never been knocked down. Never been knocked down. I mean, that sounds like a good. It means he's getting hit on the chin. He's holding up. What do you want from him?
Okay, so we've seen him. Just because you don't fall completely to the ground doesn't
mean you're getting hit in the chin, and it sounds like you're doing pretty well.
Okay. All right. So you picked. You and I are going to bet. You and I are going to bet.
I absolutely love Khaos Williams, and I absolutely hate this matchup for him because I think Miguel Baeza is just a little bit cleaner in the striking. I think Khaos is going to load up, and it's going to be a nice little slip and a counter because, Khaos, I think he does chase a knockout. It's kind of funny about Khaos, too, because he's known about this he's known as a knockout guy, but he can also go to distance. He can win decisions. And I think this fight, he's going to have to just try to win a decision. He can't knock Baeza out. Baeza is gonna slip the punches and counter, and he mentioned he's got the grappling as well. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt, like an accomplished black belt that just knocks people out. So if he can go to the ground if he needs to. I love Baeza in this matchup. I love Khaos, but I hate this matchup for him. I think Miguel's just a little bit too clean. If Khaos' path to victory is just make this a boring, just jab, and outpoint Baeza, because I think if he comes with power, he's just going to get countered. Miguel's just too slippery, too good on those shots. I absolutely love Miguel Baeza, and I hope this is a war. I hope he doesn't grapple, but I feel like he's going to go to the grappling and give Khaos some issues. So I think Baeza is the real deal, and I love him in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the safer pick, and the grappling to me is the biggest question because it's not like we've seen. I can't confidently say Khaos Williams is going to defend takedowns no problem or he's useless, right? I'm not sure. But for you to say Miguel Baeza hasn't had a suspect chin is crazy, and it was just pointed out. I pinned it on the screen by Bunkwikwi. Matt Brown almost put his lights out. He was on ice.
I'm looking at it. No knockdowns.
So what?
And then he knocked Matt Brown down twice.
Okay, and okay. All right.
So I know what you mean.
Happens.
If you get hit in the chin, what do you? How are you supposed? You're just supposed to just eat it? Nobody just eats it. I mean, the big shots. He gets a little wobbled. He withstood it. Ended up knocking
so
Matt Brown out. What the hell do you want
Khaos? Who do you think hits harder, Khaos Williams or Matt Brown?
Khaos Williams hits harder.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of that conversation. So, do you like Miguel Baeza at $8,500?
No, because Khaos is very good.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I don't think.
But if you think Miguel Baeza is going to wrestle, that's 5 points per takedown.
Yeah, but Khaos is good, man. I mean, just because you haven't seen him wrestle, he's going to be able to. He knows what he's doing in there. So I think it's a long fight. Maybe I guess it's only a 12-fight card, so 8,500 actually is a pretty decent price. So I might look at it.
Yeah, and Mbe has a great point. Marvin Vettori just eats the shots without ending up on ice skates. Just cracks him in the chin. He just keeps going forward.
Makes weird faces.
Yeah, but he just eats them. That is just his face. He's a very emotional guy. I do like the more on Monkey Knife Fight, though, because I think they'll go at it. This is likely a decision unless Khaos Williams can put him away. I just think Khaos Williams will touch him with the power, frustrate him with the power, and get Baeza making bad decisions. Potentially stop him later in the fight because I don't think it would be an early knockout, but I do think they should get over this strike line. What do you think? Especially if Baeza wrestles, he'll blow past 66.
Yeah, I feel like we are agreeing on every single more or less the past few weeks. I agree. One more.
Yeah, as soon as we're done filming, I'm going to play these lines, but you guys should play them now because the Monkey Knife Fight lines are exactly like betting odds where they move with money. So as people come in, as people play the lines, they will move. So if you like a line, hit it before it moves, because if you show up on Friday or Saturday, sitting down, having your coffee, thinking you're going to play these lines, I've made that mistake. They're really tough by the end of the week. So I like more here, and as soon as we're done, I'm going to hit it, and you should too. wewantpicks.com/MKF. Promo code WWP. They will instantly match your deposit up to $100. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have Cynthia Calvillo versus Andrea Lee. Cynthia Calvillo, 9-3 overall, 2-2-1, coming off of a stoppage loss to Jessica Andrade just 1 month ago. Frankly, I've managed fighters for 15 years. Typically, when you get stopped in a fight, specifically a KO or a TKO as she was, that's a 90-day automatic suspension. I'm assuming she was only suspended 30 days, which is really short for a KO or TKO, really short. So I'm surprised she's actually able to turn around this quickly and fight.
Wasn't it just like volume punches? I don't think they were like hard punches.
It doesn't matter. It was still a
I know, but I think you're trying to allude to the fact that she might not have recovered. I think it was just like kind of volume.
But I didn't say that. I would have said her brains are still scrambled. I'm saying when you lose by TKO, which is the referee stopped it, then you're usually suspended by 90 days. That's it. It's a standard amount. So they must have reached out to the commission and asked that she can fight. Andrea Lee, 12-5 overall, 2-3 in her last 5, coming off of a dominant grappling win over Antonina Shevchenko. Cynthia Calvillo, pretty well-rounded. She's a good striker. She's a good grappler. She's got takedowns. She does have limitations, though, because she doesn't have much speed, and she's not the most powerful woman in the division, and she's not naturally gifted. So she's not this athletic, fast powerhouse that can force things. She has to work for everything that she gets in that cage. When she gets you to the ground, she is very solid. She will soften you up with strikes and then sink in a submission. The biggest issue for her, however, is that it is obvious she is uncomfortable in a lot of her striking exchanges. Andrea Lee recently bounced back from a bit of a losing streak, but if you go back and look at those fights, you'll see that they were closer than if you just pulled up Tapology and saw that she lost 3 in a row or whatever it was. She's incredibly tough and has improved grappling. She has had 3 takedowns in her last fight against Shevchenko. She also had 3 takedowns in her fight against Roxanne and 3 against JoJo Calderwood. The gap, however, is that her takedown defense can get her in some trouble because it is not fantastic. Cynthia has a pretty clear path to victory here. She needs to avoid the striking, get Lee to the ground, and just smother from there. I do like Andrea Lee in this fight. Her striking is very polished. She's very comfortable. And she's also a threat on the ground if she can dictate, meaning if she's on top, she's a threat. If she's on bottom, she's not as dangerous. My only fear is she can lose this fight the same way that she lost to Roxanne. But I think Andrea will be able to control the striking, which will make Cynthia take bad shots from the outside, which will be defended or reversed or just set up even more striking from Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee's my pick, and I do have a money line bet at her at minus 105, almost even money. Shake your head.
The streak is about your money line bet streak is about to be broken. I was going to say
I have not lost a money line bet in a very, very long time.
I'm going to put a money line bet on Cynthia. I think she absolutely dominates this fight. I'm a big Cynthia fan. I picked Cynthia versus Andrade, and it was a little bit concerning because I thought she was going to be able to beat Andrade basically with her toughness because she is tough as hell.
Yes,
she'll fight dirty. She'll get on the ground. She's nasty. And then against Andrade, she just got completely bullied. It looked like from the opening bell, she was completely overwhelmed, wasn't ready for the moment. And I think that the UFC likes her as well. And I think they gave her a matchup that they are pretty confident that she's going to be able to win because Andrea Lee is not Andrade. And basically the only person that can beat Cynthia is Andrade because she lost against Caitlin Kuchajian, but she didn't really lose that fight. That's Caitlin does her little on every strike, and it seems like she's winning the fight. It annoys the shit out of me. I lost a lock of the week. Anyway, Andrea Lee, what's funny about her is her nickname is KGB, and I always wondered why the hell is her nickname KGB? Apparently one of her coaches thought, hey, she kind of looks Russian, and gave her the nickname KGB. So that's a very weird story, but if you're wondering why her nickname is KGB, that's why. You mentioned, I think that Cynthia comes in. Andrea Lee is an accomplished kickboxer and boxer. Cynthia's not going to mess around. She's going to get in the pocket. She's going to take her down. I think she just dominates on the ground the entire fight. I love Cynthia in this matchup because of that. Andrea Lee's got submission threats, but I like Cynthia all the way to make this nasty, get back to making it nasty, getting dirty. So I like Cynthia all the way in this, and I'll put a money line bet on her.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. I mean, they both have paths to victory here. Cynthia Calvillo just looks so uncomfortable striking.
And to speak on that, who's one of the best strikers in the division that we've seen? Just beat first she beat Ribas and then just beat whoever she beat. But it's Marina Rodriguez. That's what I'm talking about. Marina Rodriguez. Cynthia fought her to a draw, and so if you want us to talk about talent and how good she is.
Well, I guess we will see what happens. DraftKings has it as a pick'em. The odds makers have it as a pick'em. So I guess whatever side you're on, you could throw it in DraftKings. It's a good value. I don't think there's going to be a stoppage on either side. I think Andrea Lee just makes Cynthia uncomfortable the whole fight and wins those exchanges. The monkey knife fight line, that's such a hard line. What do you think there?
I don't know. What do you think, man?
I don't know. I'm not going to touch this line because more means it's a war, a back and forth war. And I just don't know. If Cynthia is able to get a bunch of takedowns and stay on top, there's no way Andrea gets past 84. And if Andrea has 84, I don't know if Cynthia is going to be able to hang. She is very visibly uncomfortable. She turns her head. She is visibly uncomfortable fighting. So it's interesting. I don't know what to do with that line. Honestly, maybe it's just less. Or you pick a side and you go less more and your side's the more. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not Columbo.
All right. Well, you're incredibly helpful, as usual. If you do think there's a stoppage here, or if you think there's potential for a stoppage, then go to wewantpicks.com/bets, jump into a promo, make a deposit, let me know, and I'll send you $50. And you could always do the wins inside the distance decision, no action prop bet. So let's say you think Andrea Lee can stop Cynthia Calvillo, but Cynthia's so tough she may not. Well, do that bet. And if Andrea Lee stops her, you get paid. If she doesn't, if she loses a decision or wins a decision, but there's no stoppage, you get a refund. Super easy. wewantpicks.com/bets. Jump into a promo, let me know, and I will send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have the feature prelim fight of the evening. We have Thiago Moisés versus Joel Alvarez. Thiago Moisés, 3-2 in his last 5, 15-5 overall. Joel Alvarez, 4-1 in his last 5, 18-2 overall. Thiago Moisés is a good technical striker and a very high level, very good BJJ black belt. He's coming off of that bad loss to Islam, but honestly, so is everybody else in that division. Thiago mixes in his low kicks really well. He uses them to set up his takedowns, and he is a very, very well-rounded guy. Joel Alvarez is very tall for the division. He is 6'3", and he uses that length and reach pretty well. He's got solid kicks and okay boxing, but he shines in the grappling department as well. His grappling is interesting because he hasn't initiated a single takedown in the UFC. In fact, he hasn't defended one either. So every single takedown attempt on Joel has worked. He's been taken down 100% of the times people have tried to take him down in the UFC. But he is dangerous. He almost enjoys being taken down. Okay, take me down. I'm comfortable here. I can work from here. And he was able to submit 2 out of the 3 people and stop all 3 of the people who did take him down in the UFC. So although it might be very easy to take him down, it may not always be wise to do that. I think the odds are pretty spot on, though. While Joel is a massive human being for this weight class, and he has really good grappling, he doesn't have any wrestling at all. And Thiago is a phenomenal grappler in his own right. If I thought Joel would be able to initiate a takedown, end up on top, and plot his way through, almost like what Islam did, then Joel's a solid pick, but he can't, and he won't. So now we have Thiago, who's probably the better, more technical striker. Thiago, who definitely is the better wrestler. And Thiago, I think he's the better grappler, but even if he isn't, he'll still initiate the takedowns, be on top, and be in the proper position there to make things happen or to avoid stuff. So I like Thiago Moisés here. I like his top game. I like his striking. I think the odds are spot on, and he's my pick. What do you think, Jakey?
Listen, Thiago Moisés is my guy. I love Thiago Moisés, former Lock of the Week winner. I'm glad he's a big favorite in this fight. I'm going to give the same speech that I gave Phil Hawes, okay? It's going to be completely opposite, but I told Phil Hawes last week, for the love of God, just please wrestle. Don't get in a striking match. For Thiago Moisés, I'm telling you, Thiago, do not take this guy down. Do not initiate a single takedown. Your striking is going to be more than enough to win this fight. Keep your distance. Be patient. Use your striking in and out. He's not going to take you down. You don't have to worry about it. Get in the pocket. Throw your strikes. Please do not take him down. You will get submitted. I don't care. Thiago's a black belt. He's very confident on the ground. Do not take this guy down. That's the only way he can win. Please, for the love of God, Thiago, just punch him in the face. That's all you got to do. You're going to win the fight. I like Thiago.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he does not have to worry about takedowns. He does not have to worry about being taken down. And if he's losing the striking exchanges for some reason, he can initiate a takedown. And he's a high-level BJJ black belt. So obviously there's levels in the jiu-jitsu world, but the reality is, you know, Alvarez is a very good grappler, but he's not levels above Thiago Moisés.
He's pretty slick with it. I wouldn't mess with it, Thiago. I know you're good, man. I wouldn't mess with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty straightforward. I think these odds are spot on. Thiago's definitely the better striker, and there's zero threat of a takedown here. So where's the concern? So either way, I don't know if I'm going to spend the $9,000 in DraftKings, though, because I don't think he's live for a stoppage, and I don't know if he's going to initiate takedowns to score those 5. You know, if you look at some of these strikers in DraftKings, some can score really well, but for the most part, in their wins, you're getting 60, 70 points, which is fine, but not if you spent $9,000. What do you think of this monkey knife fight line? It is probably more and more. I think it goes to a decision. I think they sort of bang it out. And I like the more and more here. What do you think?
First of all, to touch on the 9,000, I actually might play the 9,000 because I think he's going to grapple, right? Because you mentioned the Islam loss. He actually survived versus, he looked better against Islam than a lot of people have looked against Islam, but he was out grappled, was out wrestled, was submitted. So damn it, man, he might come in and try to prove a point like, yeah, I can wrestle, I can grapple. And it could work for him because he is very, very good. I'm not saying he's not good. It could work for him. He could get a million takedowns to just completely control him. But the only way Joel will be able to win is if you give him that opportunity. So I wouldn't mess with it. But I think he still comes out and probably shoots takedowns and grapple. So I actually like the 9,000 for DraftKings. But if I was betting on him, I wouldn't want him to grapple, if that makes sense. So, but I'd say the more and more as well.
And frankly, if I'm his coach, I say strike with him. As long as you're leading the striking, just stick to that. 1 minute left, shoot a takedown. Take him down, 1 minute left, lock the round up, see how he feels. If you get into some trouble, you can survive 30 seconds or whatever it is, and then work your way up and don't do it again. That would be my game plan and my advice. But either way, this will be an interesting fight. I'm rooting for Thiago, but Joel Alvarez is a legit threat. If he improves his striking, he's a really big threat. I've been pinning some comments here from the live chat. He does have weight issues. He's humongous. He's humongous for this weight class. He's had weight issues in the past. We'll see if he's able to make weight here. And if he does make weight and he's exhausted and he looks terrible at weigh-ins, it may be interesting to see what that does to his cardio. But should be a fun fight against two really good grapplers that may or may not actually grapple. Next up at UFC Vegas 42. We have the main card opener. We have Song Yadong versus Julio. Our Song Yadong 17-5 overall, 3-1-1 in his last 5, coming off of a decision win over Casey Kenny 3 months ago. Julio Arce 17-4 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses. Song Yadong is very young. He is only 24. But he is a good technical striker who moves well. He is fast, he hits hard, and he is very athletic. But he is hittable at 4 significant strikes absorbed per minute. He throws everything with power, but that does leave him open to takedowns. He has okay submission defense, but he's very good at creating space and getting back to his feet. He does like to dictate the pace, but doing that against another high-level striker may be tricky. Julio Arce is a decent volume guy with good striking defense, very good offense, and the ability to blend them together well. He's able to come forward with power and still counter-strike when things come his way. He utilizes both his hands and his feet. He moves really well, which is why he is not hit very often. He has a 4-3 striking differential, which means he hits others more often than he is hit. And to round him out, he's got good cardio, which helps him keep that pace, helps him keep that volume, and allows him to grapple if he gets in trouble. This should be a really fun kickboxing match, and I love that it's the main card opener because it should be really fun. Julio's the more technical guy, but Song has absolutely more power and speed. I can see Julio landing the cleaner shots, but Song's volume and power make it super frustrating. Julio does have the ability to get it to the ground, but even Casey Kenny only took him down once. I have Song winning here, but this is a close fight. This is another one. I think the odds are wide. Song, stupid athletic, tons of power, comes forward like crazy, but Julio Arce, good technical guy that can make things happen and round it out with some grappling. What do you think?
Yeah, you know who took down Song Yadong a few times and won the fight was my boy Kyler Phillips, lock of the week. So, listen, Song Yadong is one of the best strikers in the division. Julio Arce is also a Golden Gloves champion. So this is going to be, I think that honestly, this is going to be like a 135-pound Chandler versus Gagey. I think this is going to be a fight of the night. I think it's going to be complete fireworks. It's going to be volume from Song. It's going to be countering by Julio. And I like Arce. I actually like his power a little bit more than Yadong. So I think it's going to be a volume versus power. Arce is going to be a little bit more technical in the boxing. be able to slip kind of the volume and throw back some big counters. So this honestly is a toss-up to me. The 160 seems crazy for Yadong. I like Arce in this just for the power. I think he's got a little bit more power than Yadong. Yadong's going to rely on the volume a little bit more. You mentioned Yadong does get hit. And I like Arce to land a big counter and stun him and be able to steal round. And if he needs to grapple to steal rounds like Kyler Phillips did, he can do that. So I like Arce in this to maybe knock him out, but maybe win a crazy decision. So
yeah, I don't know. He does have power, Arce, but I think Song's chin should be okay enough. And I think Song definitely has more power between the two of them. This is a really close. I'm not going to argue with you. Like, this is a really close fight. I'm surprised the odds makers. What was that?
I said I wouldn't argue with me either.
Yeah. Well, be thankful you get this human interaction once a week. I do think this is much closer than those odds. Minus 160 seems crazy to me. Are you going to spend? I mean, I'm assuming you'll spend the $7,800 in DraftKings.
No.
No. Well, you think he wins and he's dirt cheap. Why not?
He's not dirt cheap. So he's $800. He's still looking for a more spectacular finish than that. So,
all right, well, you just said you think he could win by knockout, so that was a joke. What do you think of the monkey knife fight line? 103, Song with that power, 103 strikes. I know he's a volume guy and he continues to pressure forward, but I'm thinking less more here.
You keep saying like with all that power, the guy has like 2 knockouts in the last like 4 years. He has 6 all time.
He still has power, dude. Wins. He lumps people up. Everything is a significant strike. Everything is hard. Just because
he was whipping big on
out at 135 pounds, which is very hard to do, doesn't mean you don't have power.
I mean, he was whiffing big on Kyler Phillips. He'll do the same against Arce.
Okay. I can't wait. You and I are going to bet all these fights straight up, and I'm going to take all of your money, and you're not going to be able to.
Like you did Saturday night, right?
Drop your dog off at a shelter.
Just like you did Saturday night, right? Remember how much money you took from me Saturday night? How's your boy doing? What
an absolute joke.
How's your boy doing?
If you want to get in on the action, wewantpicks.com/bets. Jump into one of 3 promos that we have. Get your deposit match, and then let me know after you made your deposit, and I will send you $50 as a thank you for supporting us and our partners. I am looking forward to this fight, though. This should be a really entertaining fight, and I think both these guys are going to go at it. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have late replacement Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Daukaus. Roman Dolidze 9-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, and that one loss was a sketchy decision to Trevin Giles.
Let me go on record here real quick because I had Trevin Giles lock of the week. In the past, I mentioned that Trevin Giles dominated that fight from start to finish. It wasn't even close. There's enough time that has passed. I'm able to reflect. Roman won that fight.
Yeah. I was there when you had full panic on your face because you knew Roman won that fight while waiting for the decision. So that's the one loss on his record, was a sketchy decision. Kyle Daukaus, 10-2 overall, 2-1 in his last 5, and that one was the accidental headbutt, which caused the no contest knockout over Kevin Holland just a little while ago. Roman Dolidze is a world champion grappler. A world champion grappler. Not a very good grappler, but levels above that. He is a world champion. You could look at a map of the world, point at it, and at that point in time say Roman Dolidze was the best grappler in all of that. And I'm emphasizing that because people seem to be forgetting. They see him march forward. They see him throw big power. They see him strike for 3 rounds and throw bombs, and they forget what he's actually very good at. And the odds are this wide because Roman is taking this on short notice. Roman has had cardio issues in the past. The dude has worked his way down from heavyweight. So I think the odds are this wide because of the short notice. But if you look at what these guys are good at, and if you look at their credentials, these odds should be flipped. You have a world champion grappler versus a decent to good MMA grappler. But ultimately, I think this comes down to takedowns and takedown defense. Kyle Daukaus is the younger brother of heavyweight striker Chris Daukaus, and they have opposite fighting styles. Chris is a dominant striker who wants to grapple, and Kyle is a decent striker who doesn't want to grapple, and Kyle is a decent striker who absolutely wants to grapple. And that's because Kyle's a good grappler. He's got solid clinch work. He has okay boxing. Kyle was originally supposed to fight Kevin Holland again, which is a very different matchup than fighting Roman. With Kevin, Diakiese could have definitely gotten to the ground, even though he only has a 27% takedown accuracy. But against Roman, it's definitely a much taller task. I mentioned it before. I think this fight comes down to takedowns and takedown defense. The reality is Roman is 100 times the grappler that Diakiese is. But even though he's more technically sound, bigger, stronger, he does have cardio issues, and his takedown accuracy is also a lowish 52%. But more importantly, his takedown defense is only 37% to Kyle's 85%. So I was going to wait to bet on this one to see what Roman looked like at the weigh-ins, but the line started to move. So I grabbed Roman at plus 200. I think he's all the way down to like plus 150 now. So I think the odds are tightening here. I don't think it'll flip, but frankly, I am surprised that Roman is such a big underdog against a grappler in his division. What do you think?
Yeah, this show is just a complete clown show, apparently. I mean, you're picking Roman on short notice. First of all, there's two issues with Roman. First, the gas tank. When he's full camp, ready to go, gas tank issues. Second, he's got holes in his striking, which I don't think is going to matter in this fight, but that dude will get hit. And that's why he lost that Trevin Giles fight. He will get hit. He will get sloppy. He will think that he's like this superhuman striker, just put his chin out there and smile at you. He's a little bit weird. He's the Georgian. He is tough as shit, but he's got holes in his striking. I think that this is going to come down to Kyle is a very good grappler. Roman is a better grappler, but Kyle is good enough to withstand whatever Roman's going to do before he gasses. By that, I mean, Roman's probably going to win. It's going to come down to scrambles. Roman's probably going to win the scrambles early, but Kyle is good enough to be able to survive those scrambles. And then the second round hits, and then the third round hits, and now Kyle is winning those scrambles. Kyle is on top. Kyle is threatening submissions, threatening TKOs. Roman is gassed. I think Kyle wins this fight pretty easily because he's able to survive the first 3 minutes that Roman's going to be able to do whatever he wants to do. And then it's going to be Kyle's fight. So I like Kyle all the way in this. I'll probably put him in my lineup because Roman's probably going to get tired and probably going to get stopped in some capacity. So I like Diakiese in this fight. He's my guy, and I might put him in my lineup.
Yeah, people are hating on Roman Dolidze in the comment section, and frankly, he is a world champion grappler just because he enjoys the striking, he's comfortable striking, and he's not going out there and submitting people in 5 seconds.
And let me say, this is we mentioned live betting before. This is going to be one that I monitor because Roman's going to come in. We saw Kyle Diakiese get absolutely mauled by Phil Hawes, a very big physical guy. I think Roman comes in first round, dominates the round. I could see him entering the second round as a 2-1 favorite, maybe a 3-1 favorite because people are like, oh my God, this guy's dominant. Look how big he is. The odds flip. I'm taking Kyle on those live odds, and I think he dominates the second and third rounds.
So what's funny? I have a money line on Roman Dolidze. I was just, as soon as I saw that, I was like, it's Roman Dolidze. And Kyle Diakiese, I think, is so overrated. I think he's so overrated. He's unathletic. He's not strong. He's not smooth. He has decent boxing and good grappling, but his wrestling sucks. 27% takedown accuracy. 27% takedown accuracy. That's the guy who's going to take a world champion down and submit him in the first round, which is what half the comments are saying right now. I think that's crazy. With that being said, my notes also say, so I did the money line on Roman. And I did it before the prop bets dropped. And my notes were like, you know what? This is probably a great candidate for plus 3.5. And if you don't know what that is, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 3 partners. Jump into Bet Online because they have the best prop bets, period. End of story. Get a deposit match. One of the prop bets is plus 3.5 points. You can buy 3.5 points on the judge's scorecard, and all that means
minus 190 on those.
That's where I was going. If Roman Dolidze wins a single round, you win your bet. So then I looked at it, and it was minus 190. And that's because the odds makers are like, yeah, he's definitely going to win a round, which tells me that the odds makers think he's the favorite to win, but they know he's got cardio issues, so they're worried about his cardio. That's why the minus 190 for the plus 3.5 is he's going to win the first round, then he might gas. So this will be a fun fight. This will be an interesting fight. Roman Dolidze is never in a boring fight. He is in frustrating fights because he doesn't grapple when he should grapple, and he's willing to just stand there and strike, even though that's not what he's very good at. But always in a fun fight. What do you think of DraftKings and Monkey Knife Fight? Obviously, I love Roman at $7,300. Do you like Daukaus at almost 9,000?
Probably not, because the way he's going to win the fight is he's getting taken down and he wins a scramble to end up on top. I don't think he's going to be able to take Dolidze down. So those 5 points every time for a takedown are not there. He's not going to strike. I don't think he's going to really. He might be able to finish Roman if Roman gets like dead tired, but Roman's still tough. Even when he's tired, he's still tough. So I don't like the $8,900.
Yeah, like Roman has gas issues, but he's not. Remember Rafael Viana? Like same credentialed type grappler, and then was submitted because the dude had zero energy.
Right.
Roman,
and the odds for goes the distance to not go the distance are plus 130. So the odds makers think it goes the distance as well.
Yeah, which I think is probably pretty safe. And what do you think of Monkey Knife Fight? I like more. I think they'll slug it out. I think they'll just slug it out. Roman has no problems slugging it out, taking damage, giving damage, hanging out in the pocket. He's got a good chin. He leans on it. And he just enjoys striking more than he should. So I think more is probably solid there. What do you think?
I say less. I think this is one of those rare matchups where a lot of times when you get a wrestler versus a wrestler or jiu-jitsu guy, they just strike. I think this is one of those rare matchups where they're actually going to grapple. I think it's still going to be a lot of fun to watch because they're so high level, but I think it's a less.
Yeah, it should be. So we're on opposite sides of this entire thing, but it should be. This should be a fun fight. I'm looking forward to it.
You want to bet?
I said I think Kyle Daukaus is a bit overrated, but I do,
Hey, you want to bet?
What?
You want to bet?
Am I going to get the odds on the screen, or are you going to play some stupid
game? Okay.
Yeah,
not very confident.
So I think Kyle Daukaus is a little overrated, but with that being said, I do look forward to his fights. And whoever wins, I want it to be like clear and convincing because both of these guys could do something in this division. And this is a division that could use a little more juice in it. So hopefully we get a nice, clean, clear win out of this.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, it would be much more fun for the division if Roman Dolidze just starts running through people because he is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, he just throws caution to the wind. He's a guy. We've had this little trend lately. He just trusts his chin, and he's just willing to get hit and come forward, and he just trusts that he'll be standing at the end of it. wewantpicks.com/bets. Jump into a promo. Let me know. I'll send you $50. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have the feature fight of the evening. Felicia Spencer versus Leah Letson. Felicia Spencer, 8-3 overall, 2-3 in her last 5. Leah Letson, 5-1 overall, 4-1 in her last 5. Felicia is a big, strong grappler who likes to grind. She did lose a 5-round decision to Nunes, which says a lot about her toughness. And I know that's such a weird thing, and we did it last week.
I thought I said it in the group chat. I thought she won that fight.
It was a weird. He's not serious. Before you guys just light up the comment, there's always somebody who doesn't understand your dry humor and makes a comment. Somebody said I was really rude to you last week because I mispronounced the name. You corrected me, and I said I don't make mistakes. And someone's like, Angelo, how dare you talk to your friend like that?
Yeah, imagine what he does. Imagine how he talks to me offline.
Yeah, and but also, don't you have friends? How do you talk to your friends? You're just like, oh, I hope you had a wonderful day.
No, I don't.
I mean, maybe just where I'm from, people are not supportive, and everybody else is. Either way, Felicia Spencer, good, strong, big grappler, likes to grind. Lost a 5-round decision to Amanda Nunes, and you don't necessarily want to look at a loss and be like, but it just, if it says anything, it just says how tough she is. And Amanda was a little bit worried about the grappling, which is why that fight went the way it did. And she is a very good grappler. She's got a ton of pressure on top, and she's always looking for a finish if she gets it to the mat. She's not very good on her feet, which could be an issue here. Leah lost to Macy Chasson on The Ultimate Fighter. and then had a split decision win over Stolyarenko in her official UFC debut. But that was 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And I can't tell what improvements she's made, what changes she's made. I can't tell you.
I can tell you in those 3 years that those were health-related issues. She was having real issues, like thyroid issues, and couldn't figure out why she was feeling the way she was. So it wasn't 3 years to get better. It was 3 years to survive, basically.
Yeah. So not a good look. And the odds makers know that, right? You see the odds on the screen. But she does work in head kicks well, or at least she did. She was always looking for a finish on her feet. But she does have holes in the ground. This is a pretty straightforward fight. I see Felicia marching forward, pushing Leah against the cage, working a takedown, and then on top, she'll probably snatch up a submission or get herself a TKO. This is one of the very rare times where I grabbed a prop bet that wasn't a safety bet, meaning I normally do a +3.5. I normally do a wins inside the distance decision, no action, where there's some sort of safety net there. You almost never see me chase stoppage bets, but I did grab one here. I have Felicia Spencer wins inside the distance at +190. 3-year layoff, holes on the ground. Felicia on top is dangerous. I think she sort of ragdolls Leah to the ground, beats her up, either King Kong hammer fists or loosens up, gets a submission. So I'm obviously all over Felicia here. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know why this fight is on the main card. This should, if anything, it should have been, it should have been my girl Liana. Yeah, it should have been on the main card. But yeah, this is going to be Felicia all the way. I joked about the Nunes fight, but if you watch the Nunes fight, a lot of those shots were perfectly timed shots. She was in there deep on a single on Nunes. Nunes just, she's Nunes, so she got it back. A lot of times she reversed those positions, but she had some really good shots and some really good opportunity versus Nunes. And this is not Amanda Nunes that she's fighting. So I like her in a big way in this fight. She's going to get the takedown. And I agree. I'll probably ride that inside the distance bet with you. I think she absolutely dominate this fight. So that's probably why they put on the main card to kind of spotlight her more, because they're really running out of girls in both the Nunes divisions and Shevchenko's division. So they got to prop somebody back up. Here's their opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so cut and dry. The 3-year thing, it's funny because I'm looking at it as 3 years, that can't be good. You could look at it as and say, well, 3 years, we don't know how much better she could be, but I doubt it.
All of 2019 was spent like trying literally to survive. Like she didn't know what was wrong with her. So there's 1 year gone.
Yeah, well, and $9,100 in DraftKings, I would probably spend it because obviously I think she wins by stoppage, and DraftKings is all about chasing stoppages. That is literally the entire, that's how you build winning lineups, is chasing stoppages. So $9,100, she's one of the only 9,000 plus fighters, not the only, but one of the only on this card that I do think will get a stoppage. The strike line, I have to say less, because I think she just ragdolls her to the ground, and that's it from there. Maybe more or less, but I think less. What do you think?
Less.
Yeah, it's got to be less, right? So if you want to hop on that before it moves, do it now. I saw Chris Riley in the live chat. He's here watching. He will move this line as the money comes in, so hit it now. Gentleman's agreement, he will leave it till Wednesday morning. wewantpicks.com/MKF. Make a deposit. They will instantly match your deposit. Then you can just play with the free money. You don't even need to play with your real money. Play with the free money. Win, withdraw your real money, and now it's just house money the whole way home. Super easy, ton of fun. wewantpicks.com/MKF. If you want to hop on to that wins inside the distance prop bet at +190, so you go from -335 to +190, wewantpicks.com/bets. Jump into a promo. Let me know. I'll send you $50. Next up, at UFC Vegas 42, we have the co-main event of the evening. We have Big Ben Rothwell versus Marcos Rogério de Lima. Big Ben Rothwell is 39-13 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. Coming off that submission win over Chris Barnett, who we just saw fight this past weekend. Marcos Rogério de Lima, 18-7 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses. Ben Rothwell is almost like a heavyweight Justin Gaethje, who I've referenced like 10 times in this breakdown. He just marches forward, decent amount of strikes, and absolutely relies on his chin to keep him in a fight. He is massive, even for a heavyweight. He uses his size really well. He's very hard to take down, but he is slow. He's been boring lately. So picking him apart on the feet has been the path to victory the last few years. Look at his loss against Tybura. He was literally outstruck 95 to 155 in that fight. But he does have great fight IQ, which will make up for his speed and his age. De Lima is a powerful striker with a decent ground game and solid leg kicks. For a heavyweight, he's got a ton of volume. He put up 166 strikes in his decision win against Maurice Green. He has decent wrestling offense at 66% and averages more than one takedown per fight. The issue for him is that if he gets taken down, he does not fight well off his back, especially against somebody as physically imposing as Big Ben. But this is a surprisingly difficult fight to pick. Ben just needs to come forward, lay on De Lima, get a takedown, and finish from there. Marco De Lima just needs to stick and move, ride out a decision from there. And with his leg kicks, it's very possible that he can do that. It's a battle of the game plans here, and I'm ever so slightly, razor thin, ever so slightly leaning with Big Ben. He only needs one single takedown to get this fight done, where Lima would need 15 minutes of well-executed game plan. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I feel with Ben Rothwell, this is going to kind of sound weird because obviously he does lose, but I don't know how you beat this guy. Obviously, the top tier heavyweights are going to beat him because they have the power, they have the game plans, whatever. But when you're in this middle tier, and Ben is 40 years old, so eventually he will fall and he will not look the way he's been looking. And there are moments where he does look a little bit slow. But the guy's got, the head of granite, right? He hasn't been TKO'd, I don't think, since like 2009. If you go to the ground, he's probably going to win on the ground versus most of these middle tier guys. Again, I'm not talking about like the top level, grapplers and this and that. But I just feel like you just can't beat this guy. Every time you think he's going to beat him, like you said, he just plots forward. He just boxes you. He'll shove you up against a fence. He'll grind on you. He might take you down. I just feel like there's nowhere that Marcus is going to be able to win this fight. Maybe with the volume, maybe like a weird, dirty decision, something like that. And Marcos can put people away, but you just can't put Ben Rothwell away. You just don't do it. So I think Ben just wins one of those fights that he wins. He just plots forward, boom, 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 a little bit of volume, makes it dirty against the cage. Maybe gets a takedown, like you said, and just rides it out. So I think this is just a prototypical Ben Rothwell win. Just kind of boring, just plots forward and just gets the job done. Goes home and kisses his wife.
Yeah, I agree with you. I will say, though, you said you don't see how Marcos could win. I think his path to victory is very easy. Like, literally, stick and move. Ben Rothwell's slow as hell. Stick and move, good footwork, stay out of the way. Don't let him push you against the cage. Do that big sloth action. But you're not going to knock him out, like you said. Not going to happen. You're not going to take him down. That's not going to happen either. So to beat Ben Rothwell, you have to stick and move. People have been commenting. I've been pitting them that Ben has looked terrible lately, but has he? I mean, he's Ben Rothwell. That's what he's looked like his entire career. He's
not getting destroyed. He's losing decisions, but he's not looking outclassed, like completely outclassed, right? He gets hit and he is a little bit slow, but he just keeps plotting forward and just going about his business and, lunch pail kind of guy.
But that's literally who he's been his entire career too. So Big Ben, I'm all over it. I'm not spending $8,600 because he scores like no points because he just comes forward. He'll lean on you against the cage. He'll throw some strikes. Obviously, he scored good points against Chris Barnett, but that was a stoppage. And, Chris Barnett, as high as I was on him last week, and we hit that money line bet, and I was all over Chris Barnett last week, Chris Barnett is not Marcos de Lima, right? Marcos de Lima is much more versatile and has more ways to win than Chris Barnett does. So, by the way, this is a close fight. The odds a tiny bit wide, but this is a close fight. What do you think of the Monkey Knife Fight line, 83 to 54?
More.
You think more?
That's what I said.
Yep. Well, you're probably right because I said before he had 95 strikes against Marcin Tybura, who had 155. So he was way outstruck, a step behind the entire time, and he still blew past this 83 line. So it is probably more and more. I agree with you there. And what do you think of DraftKings? I said I wouldn't do Big Ben, but did you weigh in?
Yeah, that's not good value. Who did I say last week was the worst value at $8,800? I can't remember. It might have been Cheeto, honestly, unfortunately, but no, this is not good value at $8,600.
Yeah, no, he's just not a big scoring guy in DraftKings. wewantpicks.com/MKF. The more and more here is pretty solid, especially if you start digging into their past fights. This likely goes the distance. So more and more makes a lot of sense here. Next up at UFC Vegas 42, we have the main event of the evening. We have Max Holloway versus the return of Yair Rodriguez. Max Holloway 22-6 overall. Only 2-3 in his last 5, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Yair Rodriguez 13-2 overall. He is 3-1-1.
Do you want to just do this real quick? Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to just do this real quick? Max is going to win and just end it.
Okay. Yair Rodriguez 3-1-1 in his last 5, with his last win 2 years ago over Jeremy Stevens. I opened this with mentioning that Max Holloway is only 2-3 in his last 5, but let's look at those 3 losses. 2 of them were to the current champion, and a lot of people think Max won one, if not both of those fights. The other loss was against Dustin Poirier at 155 pounds. If you thought he was on the downslide and those 2 losses to Volkanovski took something out of him, well, you were made to look a fool when he absolutely dominated Calvin Kattar. I mean, that was one of the most fun fights I've ever seen, and one of the most I've never seen a gap like that between 2 guys. And Calvin Kattar has very good striking. Max is an amazing striker with very fluid movements that keep his volume up and his vulnerabilities low. He has the most impressive striking differential on this entire card at 7-4. He lands 7 strikes and is only hit 4 times in return. And he rounds it all out with an 84% takedown defense and an entire championship career worth of experience. Yair Rodriguez was a surging up-and-comer. He came into the UFC. He made a big splash. He put together a nice little win streak before losing to Frankie Edgar, but then he bounced back with a great win over the Korean Zombie, Jeremy Stevens, but we haven't seen him fight in 2 years. He's a fun, athletic guy. He will spin kick his way to a knockout. He'll entertain you the entire time in the cage. He's tough to deal with because his striking is so unpredictable, and it also opens him up for takedowns. But if he does hit the ground, he's perfectly capable enough to throw up a submission or create a scramble and get back up. Listen, Max is a -5 something favorite for a reason. He looked light years ahead of everybody else in his last fight. He was the longstanding champion, technical striking style, should be able to cut through the looping and sort of theatrical striking of Yair. This should be pretty straightforward for Max, but he will need to keep it technical, close the distance, and avoid the crazy spin attacks of Yair Rodriguez. Listen, -500, I think it's a little wide, just a touch. And that's just because there's some recency bias in how amazing he looked in his last fight. So obviously you already gave us your pick, but what are your thoughts?
Yair's only really opportunity here is to do the weird stuff, right? It's basically put your head down, throw bombs, shoot takedowns, do some weird stuff, because you're not going to outbox this guy. You can't even make a lot of times versus boxers. Sometimes you can even make it dirty, right? You can't even make it dirty versus Max Holloway because he'll just out dirty box you. He just got to throw bombs and just pray that one lands. The issue is Max Holloway has never been knocked out. He's never been TKO'd. He's been submitted once. That's his only loss. And I'm going to make a prediction here. I made the prediction Bobby Green. Bobby Green hadn't finished anyone in forever. I told you he was going to finish him. I just put a 4-unit bet. I'm riding with Jester in the chat. A 4-unit bet on Max Holloway inside the distance. I think there's just completely levels of this. I think Yair comes in, does throw the bombs, tires out. Max Holloway wears on him with the volume and just goes crazy and finishes it. Really makes a statement. He knows he's a big favorite. I don't think he wants a decision, a 5-round decision versus Yair being a big favorite. I think he comes in, tries to get the finish with the volume and gets it done. So I got a 4-unit bet inside the distance. You can get it for plus 110 right now. on Max Holloway inside the distance here. I'm Max Holloway inside the distance. I'm going less monkey knife fight. Putting him in my DraftKings.
It's so funny you say that. I have that bet already. I only did one unit because I'm a reasonable human being, but I already did the plus 110 wins inside the distance. And Brian McGinnis, he is now a minus 720 favorite. I don't think anybody should ever flex up to that big of a fight. It is still a fist fight. Still a fist fight. I made this graphic yesterday, and it's already completely expired with how nuts these odds are. I don't care who it is. A fist fight's a fist fight. Anyway, get yourself some plus money with wins inside the distance. I like you said, this is pretty straightforward. I'm looking forward to it. I actually do hope Yair Rodriguez puts up somewhat of a show. We haven't seen him in 2 years because he's been fighting with the UFC. He wasn't injury prone. He's just been fighting with the UFC. And you hate to see a guy lose some of the best years of his entire life over money. I hope he looks decent and then gets to come back and get another couple fights in him. But Max Holloway should win. I think it's actually better for everybody if Max Holloway wins, especially how good he looked before and how young he is. Everybody thinks he's old because he's been a champ for a while, but he is he's still in his 20s.
He'll be 30 in December.
He what?
He'll be 30 in December.
Yep. So he's still in his 20s, making things happen. wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 3 different betting partners. Jump into one. Hit the wins inside the distance prop plus money. That will not last long. I guarantee that moves. wewantpicks.com/MKF. Jump in, make a deposit, and do the less on the strike line. That's our breakdown, Jakey boy. That's our breakdown. We did the whole card.
We did it. We did it, guys.
Wow, we did do it. Let's just catch up on some chat real quick.
Me and Jester, I think this is the first time me and Jester agreed with each other. Usually every time I say any bet, he's like, oh, that idiot, I can't believe. It was funny. I saw Jester put it in the chat, and then I went and checked it, and sure as shit, plus 110. I'll take that all day. 4 units.
Yeah, I did that. I may have done that this morning. I'm surprised that hasn't moved, and if it hasn't, it will, because how could you say somebody's a minus 720 favorite and then not also have them to win by stoppage? You know what I mean? So, and
inside the distance is minus 125, so that makes it even more weird. So they think that the odds are it goes inside the distance, but they're still giving plus odds for Max to get a finish. So
that crap happens all the time, and it's fantastic when it does. Fantastic.
Because the Yair inside the distance is plus 750.
And then Abel Polanco says, what is the realistic chances that the main event goes the distance? It's certainly possible. I would say 3-1 it doesn't go the distance. It is still 5 rounds. And Yair is tough, but he hasn't fought in 2 years. And the beating Max Holloway just put on Calvin Kattar, I don't think Yair could take that. I don't think he could go through what Calvin Kattar went through. So thank you, everybody, for the watch. Just film the outro real quick, Jakey boy.
Okay.
Thanks
for watching, guys. Oh, I thought you wanted me to do it.
No. I'll literally just mute you, okay? Before you go to wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 3 different betting partners. Jump into one of them. They all have deposit matches. Make a deposit. Let me know, and I will send you $50. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, however you want it, as a thank you for supporting us and our partners. wewantpicks.com/bets. All right. Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Take this conversation to our Discord because you guys are still going heavy in the chat. I got to go. I got to go to bed. I'm exhausted. Go to the Discord. Keep the conversation going there. We'll see you the rest of this week. I don't know about Saturday, a pre-fight live stream, but I may do an undercard live stream since it starts so damn early. So maybe we'll live stream the undercard. We'll see what happens. Thank you, guys. See you later.